And here to talk about the Houston Cougars is the esteemed beat writer for the Houston Chronicle. It is Joseph Duarte. Hey, Joseph, how are you?
Good. I don't think I've ever been referred to as esteemed, so I appreciate that.
I mean, we can knock you down a peg if you want. I mean, we can...
Yeah, you get with my wife. She'll give you a couple.
Let's talk about the Houston Cougars. You're a guy who has covered this team for quite a while. What difference, if any, can you tell around the program since Tom Herman has arrived?
No, I mean, it's like a complete change. The culture, I know that's a word that many coaches use, but that's just a word that he had them really buy into early, and if you didn't, you were gone. They had a few players that didn't, and literally they were gone. This is a guy, his first week, he put chains on the locker room door, told them that they were going to have to earn their way back in. He's as close as they have to parents, so if he sees clothes that are on the floor and they don't pick it up, they're running. So it starts with that. I mean, he's come in and winning helps, obviously, but he's instilled that culture and that whole, we're going to make this. We're not a Power 5 team yet, but we want to put ourselves out there like we are. So when that time comes, so it's been a complete change for this program.
Last night, the College Football Playoff Committee released their latest rankings. Houston at 9-0, by far the lowest ranked unbeaten team. The next lowest ranked team unbeaten is Oklahoma State. Do you personally, or do you think the people around the Houston program feel that the committee is disrespecting them?
No, I really don't. I think they realize where that comes from. Houston, until last week, hadn't beaten a program with a winning record. And frankly, their schedule has been, on the weaker side. But on the flip side, it's backloaded. They play Memphis, who's number 25 this week. They play a UConn team on the road, and then they end with Navy, who right now would be the group of 5 representative. And then if you win out there, you play Temple in the American Championship game. So really, sometimes you need other teams or other things to happen for you to get somewhere. They don't necessarily need that. They control their own destiny. So, how people may view them right now, I don't think is of importance to them, because they'll have a chance on their own to prove where they belong. And then if the rankings don't agree, which I don't know how they wouldn't, then maybe they have an issue. But for now, the road in front of them is clearly, what they do with it and how they respond.
We're talking to Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle here on DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag DCTF Live. Joseph, the remarkable improvement and the remarkable maturation process of Greg Ward Jr. Has been really impressive to watch. As a guy who watches every game, what have you seen as the difference in Greg Ward Jr. from last year to this year?
Well, he's become a quarterback, and you can't really say that last year because of two things. Last year's staff didn't have a true quarterback coach, someone that Greg Ward could go into, could work on the intricacies of being the position, the fundamentals. That was the biggest change when Tom Herman comes in, and we all know what he did last year with the 3 quarterbacks at Ohio State. And then he goes out and gets offensive coordinator Major Applewhite, who your viewers are very familiar with from his time as a player and a coach at Texas. He's been at Alabama. Locally, he was at Rice. So that's the first step. And then as you see some of the things that they've taught him, they've kind of preached to him over and over, he's doing those things. He is not ever going to be a quarterback that's just a pocket passer, but he does all those other wonderful things that they can't teach him. He can run, he can make things happen. You look at his 800-plus rushing yards and his 16 rushing touchdowns. That's a gift, and they realize that part. What they have brought to the table is making him that complete quarterback where he stands back there. And the biggest thing is he just did not allow things to develop. His first instinct was when he saw things collapsing or didn't give the receivers a chance, the reads to develop, he would immediately take off. Last game, I saw Greg Ward actually stay there in the pocket, and he hit a couple of receivers just waiting as Tom Herman puts that extra millisecond. I mean, Tom Herman is about as detailed of a coach I've ever covered, and when he says it's a millisecond, it's a millisecond, and that's kind of what they've seen from Greg Ward to kind of bring him along. But by no means, and they'll be the first to say this, is he a complete product. He is certainly a work in progress.
Obviously, the season hits a new stride this Saturday when Memphis comes into town. For Houston to stay unbeaten, what are the keys for the Cougars?
Well, you could take a page out of what Navy did, and Navy controlled the clock for over 37 minutes. On the flip, U of H just isn't that type of offense. So if you're going to get into a shootout with them, one, you better not start off slow like they have at times the last few weeks. And secondly, you have to give them, I would think, a little bit of an edge simply because Houston's defense has much more proven this year. I know Vanderbilt wasn't a great offensive scoring team, but to them to shut them out said a lot. And then you look at some of the other games, they played Tulsa really well, and Tulsa was an explosive offense. And then, they gave up the 500-plus to Gunnar Kiel last week and managed to force those turnovers. So I believe limiting the damage and the passing game and forcing some turnovers are going to be key for Houston to pull this one out.
He is Joseph Duarte, the Houston Chronicle, joining us on DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag DCTF Live. Joseph, one last question before we let you go. There are a number of high-profile coaching vacancies already, and we're still about a month away from the end of the regular season. Tom, we here in the DCTF office think that Tom Herman is certainly going to get phone calls. Do you see Tom Herman at Houston long term?
Well, depends on what you consider long term. He's got the 5-year contract. He's obviously in year one. I don't think he leaves. I really do not believe that he leaves after 1 year. And I've said all along that I thought, Tom Herman, this is his first coaching job. I think it has to be that right job that he goes to, and all these other schools are going to be able to pull up to the curb with the Brinks truck and open up the wallets, and that will be enticing. But I really believe Tom Herman thinks he can turn this program into something that is sustainable for several years. Now, 2 years down the road, would he be gone possibly? Yeah, then, but I don't think he immediately jumps after 1 year. I think what happens is U of H sits down with him and his representative, in January, talks, renegotiates, and I wouldn't be surprised if they give him, an upwards of 2.5 million per year. They're already paying him more annually than they've ever paid any head coach football-wise. So I think he feels like there's things that he wants to accomplish. Getting the indoor practice facility will go a long way, and more than anything, the attendance. They need to show a commitment to not only trying to attract a crowd, but also the fans responding by buying tickets, and that's been a sore spot for Tom Herman the first couple of months. They're close to a sellout in the last 2 home games. So, mission accomplished there. It took a little while, but to answer your question, I think he ends up staying this year.
You hear that, Houston fans? Go out and buy tickets. That's the lowest.
And we're not talking. I've seen Joseph's Twitter feed. We're not talking about the people that are dedicated to his Twitter feed and follow it, and we love the Cougs, and we know are showing up. We're talking about the rest of the city.
City of Houston. Need to show up. He is Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle. Follow him on Twitter at Joseph_Duarte, and check out his fine work at chron.com. Joseph, thanks so much for hopping on with us.
Hey, thanks, guys. Anytime.